Right then, so we're back to talk about more Highlander news. We thought things were wrapping up, and to a certain extent they were. But there was just one last piece of the puzzle: Hong Kong. Now, obviously, we knew that the initial plan, right from the get go, we heard that they were planning to film in Hong Kong at some point. But then, of course, things came and went, and we knew obviously they'd been filming in London, then in Scotland, and then in Poland, and then that seemed to be it. Around the middle of June, obviously Cavill was back in the UK appearing at Royal Ascot. Said obviously he's just come off filming Highlander. And then a week or so after that, I made the video where Chad Stahelski had confirmed that principal photography had wrapped. You know, he'd been attending a red carpet event and he was asked what he's been up to. And that was a direct quote: just finished principal photography. So I thought that was it. And, you know, the fact that things change, plans change. I thought that Hong Kong had just fallen by the wayside. And I was thinking more and more, like, obviously we were supposed to originally film last year, but of course the injury that Henry Cavill sustained, that threw everything up in the air for a while. And should we say maybe delayed production 3 or 4 months, give or take. And then obviously things got rolling in January, but 3 or 4 months can make all the difference, you know, schedules and things that need to be rearranged and reworked. So then I genuinely thought that they'd kind of maybe put the plans for Hong Kong, just scrap them, for lack of a better term. But then again, you know, you can do things now. You don't necessarily need to go to Hong Kong. You could have just shot all of that on a sound stage and said, hey, this is Hong Kong, guys, and we'd have been none the wiser. But apparently, no. The plans for Hong Kong, they didn't go anywhere. They were just were on the back burner for a little bit. So it could have been for any number of things. Again, just the way arrangements and schedules needed to be reshuffled. This was just the next available time slot, for lack of a better term. But yeah, I'll copy and paste the links to the article in the description box below. But there was an article from a couple of different sources, really, but basically people had captured photos and video from the set. It's got Cavill there, Chad Stahelski's there, and they're basically on a particular street that's been like reworked and kind of retrofied, and they say it kind of evokes imagery of older Hong Kong. But then in the same breath, there's also details that suggest it's going to be set in the future, celebrating the 2040 anniversary celebrations, so 2039 going into the year 2040. So I guess this chunk of the movie is going to take place during the new year. Who knew? That's actually a pretty cool idea, because Chad Stahelski was saying they're aiming for a release at the end of 2027. So hey, you want a film that celebrates New Year? And I have a sneaky suspicion. I mean, I know they don't shoot in order of sequence, do they? No. But you never know. They could be filming the grand finale of the movie here. This could be what this is. This is where the finale of the movie takes place, in Hong Kong. So what a way to end your film. I am pleased that they've made the push to go and film in Hong Kong, because I think Hong Kong is a very cool place. Obviously, if you've seen other videos on this channel, you know that I've really went down the rabbit hole of the 1980s Golden Harvest stuff, like the golden age of Hong Kong action cinema. So the fact that they're there in Hong Kong now, that's cool. And again, it's such a Chad Stahelski move as well. You know, if it was any other director, they probably wouldn't have bothered. But the fact that it's Chad Stahel's is like, no, we're going. It's gonna happen. But it's cool. It's really, really cool. But again, this just adds to what's been said again and again. This has been a long shoot. They started filming back in January, and like I say, it ran right up until June, and then of course they've had the break, and now obviously now in August they've gone back. So the article that was published and the photos and video that have surfaced online, that's from Thursday just gone. So we're recording this on Monday, so a few days removed. But obviously filming goes on. But surely they can't have long left. Like by the end of August, surely that's going to be it. So what do we call this? This is well, it's not reshoots, of course. This is a subject that Highlander Law touched on in his latest video. So it's not reshoots. It's additional photography, or I suppose we all know the term from the Lord of the Rings production, pickups. There was so many pickups. So that's essentially what this is. But it looks great. Obviously, the design, they've really captured that cool Hong Kong aesthetics with all of the neon signs, and it's going to be cool, man. I don't know what obviously we don't know what the context, well, you can kind of take that from any set videos and photos that surface. You're never going to know the context until you're sat in the cinema watching the finished film, but all we've seen is Cavill and Stahelski, or at least all I've seen is Cavill and Stahelski. We don't know who else is there, like, is Batista there? We don't know. Max Zhang, of course, he filmed earlier this year back in London, but could his character be coming back into play? You'd hope if they were over there, they'd have Max Zhang show up, kind of like on somewhat home turf. Is Max Zhang a Hong Konger or is he mainland? Mind you, with a name like Zhang Jin, I think he's a mainland actor, isn't he? But, what do you do? But yeah, I'd hope that Max Zhang could show up again. And then, of course, Marissa Abella, her character, I don't know if I've seen anything of her. Now, obviously, we've only seen glimpses of what they've shot on locations. Obviously, I'm sure there's been a lot of interior stuff that's been shot. Almost certainly. But, yeah, that's another big question mark on all this, the role that Marissa Abella plays. So she could very well be over there. Again, we don't know. But I'm interested, I'm interested to see how long this is going to, how much longer this has got to go. I mean, almost certainly, if Amazon MGM doesn't make any kind of official post, I'm sure at the very least Cavill, well, he made the official post announcing the beginning of the production, so I'm sure he'll post something to mark the end of it. But it's interesting, and I'm just chomping at the bit. I hope that, it might be too much to hope for, but I hope by the end of the year that we might have something, teaser trailer, I don't know. I mean, technically we've already had some first look images courtesy of Henry Cavill himself. What's interesting as well, one of those first look images is him in kind of like a Buddhist looking temple, evoking the Hong Kong set. So, it's interesting, man. Also, one of the things I just wanted to talk about, and again, I'm not sure if I've made a comment on this before, but I know for the most part he's been pictured in that long brown leather overcoat, and that's kind of like, that's the replacement for the trench coat, isn't it? And I think it's a wise choice. You just think, well, obviously the trench coat works in the original film, but would it work here? I mean, it could, but I think this is a nice alternative. But what I do really like as well, that under the overcoat, under the long coat, he's got the brown leather jacket, kind of like what Connor has in the original film. I mean, fair enough, there's some little differences in the style, but like, I think that's such a cool look that Connor has at the end of the '86 film. You know, when he goes for the final fight with the Kurgan, he just has he just has the leather jacket on, the overcoat's gone because he's just, yeah. Um, I like the fact that they've got that there, and it seems as though he's alternating. You know, in some of the stuff we've seen, like in some of the fights, he does have the overcoat on, but then in some of the fights, he's just down to the brown leather jacket. It's essentially a bomber jacket, isn't it? A variation on it. But again, I like that look, and I like that they've kept that. I always liked that they brought a variation of the leather jacket back for Highlander 3 as well. You know, when he has the big fight at the end with Mario Van Peebles in the steel factory. I like that that was like, it's kind of been a consistent, you know, appreciate little things like that. But I think this is the nice middle ground. Like, yeah, probably not necessarily would the trench coat have been the right move. But the leather overcoat's good. But I like that they've been able to work that leather jacket in as kind of like a bit of visual continuity between the two takes on the same character. Like it a lot. And again, I know we've only seen it in like wide shots. There hasn't been like an official high res close up, you know. But obviously, for all intents and purposes, it looks as though they've kept the Ramirez katana pretty faithful to the original, which I appreciate to no end. But I'm just so excited again. What a time to be alive. I'm just excited that, you know, I've really tried to keep reminding myself going through this year, just appreciate the time you're living in. You know, like, this is the time where Highlander's been made. Well, it's been made throughout this year. Because when you sit down in the theatre, just think, you know, like there's going to be like initial moments in like all the stuff shot in Scotland with Karen Gillan and Russell Crowe. Like, okay, kind of remember where you were at the time in your own life, so you can kind of, and then obviously remember where you were when they had the official first look of Cavill and the Kurgan together. We had obviously Batista in the priest's uniform, priest's outfit. But again, I'll never forget that day where Cavill posted you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again for posterity. I was in York well, part A, I was in York train station, and then part B, I was on the train back from York. And then I'd just been, there's a really great like bakery in York. Well, there's a few, so that narrows it down. But I'd been there to get some like, you know, the cookie cake slices. And then I was on my way home, gearing up to go and watch The Wrecking Crew, because it was the day that The Wrecking Crew had been released on Amazon Prime with Batista and Jason Momoa. But then just, again, I couldn't believe it, because I'd started getting very nervous up to that point, thinking, oh wait, is this all falling apart again? But no, sure enough, it's like, oh, it's happening, and it's been fun ever since. But yeah, surely this is the final piece of the puzzle now. Just doing what they have to do in Hong Kong. Again, I have a feeling this is where the finale of the film's going to take place. You know, with a big spectacle at the end. But yeah, he is hoping as well we'll soon get an announcement that, yeah, that's the wrap. We'll see you at the end of 2027, people. But yeah, again, feel free to share your thoughts on this. I'll link to the article in the description. Also, I think Donnie Yen's son made a post on social media. He'd visited the set. And obviously, Donnie Yen himself had commented on it as well. That's something that has to happen. Again, I don't know. I'm just grateful for what we've got at this point. But if they make a sequel or sequels, you've got to get Donnie Yen back in this. I mean, yeah, he was in Highlander Endgame, but as far as I'm concerned, the less said about Highlander Endgame, the better. But if they brought him in for this new series as a new immortal, you got. I appreciate the minute he's been busy with his John Wick spin. I mean, what a year next year's gonna be. Highlander, getting Donnie Yen's John Wick movie. Oh, and then Extraction 3. That's sort of yes. That rounds out our holy trinity for next year. And again, Pierce Brosnan may or may not be in the film as well. Apparently, I'm hoping he is. I hope he plays the guy that Idris Elba works for. You know that he teases at the end of the second film. But he is. We'll watch this space. But yeah, a lot of good stuff coming out in 2027. Apparently. Again, thank you for listening to me talk about this. It's really great that they've been able to fit that final part in, because Hong Kong's such an amazing, such a cool place, especially from a cinematic standpoint. It's great that they've still been able to make that happen. So the magic continues, and hey, let's just watch this space. What comes next? Thank you, everybody. I'll see you in the next one, hopefully with some more Highlander news. See you, everybody. Bye-bye.